Ah yes, wintertime, that lovely time of year that we all look forward to and we all wait for. Such a marvelous time of year. It always brings good heart, good feelings to me personally. We can just kind of sit inside as the months pass by and as the darkness drifts and the depression comes on heavy. It's definitely a time of year that I hold very near and dear to my heart. Whether it's just hanging out inside watching movies or cartoons from days of old, Netflix, or even just playing some good old-fashioned video games, whether new or old. Once again, that's one of my favorite pastimes, and I gotta say that I love the depression that comes with it, and I actually love the freezing cold. Now, for some of you that may live in the West or other parts of the world where you don't actually get snow, I feel kind of sorry for you, as you have not had the fortune of waking up on a cold, freezing day and having to go out and do one of my favorite things of all time, which is warm up the car, especially after like a nice snowfall or a heavy wind chill factor throughout the night, or where there's like a mix of sleet and rain and it just glazes over your car. I love shoveling a path through the yard and over the fence so that way I can actually get to the car, shoveling out the car, and then actually getting into the car. Or even if it hasn't snowed and it's just freezing out, the other favorite part to that is actually just going out and just warming up the car and waiting for it to warm up. And as much as I love the summer and I love sweating my ass off, I gotta say that my favorite pastime actually is just the winter time in general, and going out and freezing and waiting for the car to warm up whenever you're trying to just go do anything in life that involves you getting in your car and going somewhere. Simple things, simple tasks, such as buying groceries, trying to figure out dinner, paying your bills, going to the post office to mail a friendly letter. And for the folks of you out there who winter is just completely unavailable for, this video is for you. And one of the things that's also great that comes along with freezing your ass off and living in a snow-filled tundra is the sickness that comes with it, whether it's just a common cold, just an upper respiratory, or sometimes you get that ultra low respiratory sinus infection going on, or even light pneumonia, as some people usually get this time of year, or whether it's something even worse, possibly even the flu, which was what I got this last week, and it has pretty much sparked the creativity for this video. So for those of you who have never experienced the flu, allow me to give you my take on this, and before you go out and actually get the flu for yourself, please just watch this video and don't forget to give it a like, and allow me to share my experiences with you and give you my take on the flu and whether you should get it or not.
So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about
how to deal with the flu
and the Nintendo Switch.
So first things first now, when I talk about the flu, yes, I'm actually talking about influenza, not the common cold where maybe you just have a slight headache or your nose is running a little bit, but this is actually the influenza virus. If you're not familiar with that, these symptoms usually begin a few days after exposure to the virus. Most of these symptoms last less than a week. The cough, however, may be for longer. In children, you may have diarrhea and vomiting, but not too common in adults. And the typical symptoms are high fever, runny nose, sore throat, muscle and joint pain, headache, coughing, and feeling tired. Now, the other day when I woke up, I kind of thought to myself, oh, I'm kind of getting a cold. You know, my throat felt sore, my neck and glands kind of felt a little bit tight, my sinuses hurt. And then a few hours later, I just all of a sudden had really high fever to the point where you're laying down, you've taken ibuprofen and Tylenol alternating every 4 or 5 hours, and you kind of start to hallucinate to the point where it's almost like when you were sick as a kid and you're watching TV or a movie or something, and it almost feels like you're actually asleep, but you can tell that you're not, and then when you actually do fall asleep, it's still sort of a trip, and when you wake up, it's kind of the same thing. You don't really know where you are, your head is spinning. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about the sickness that I experienced the other day. And this went on for several days, and it was a pretty good time actually. So I would say when it came to the fever, it seemed every few hours it was kind of coming back, and I could just feel it in my head. So when it comes to the actual fever, a couple hours would go by, and then I take some more ibuprofen or Tylenol, alternating, as I said, drinking plenty of fluids. So the fever part, I'd probably give maybe a 7 out of 10. It wasn't too bad. I was kind of able to deal with it and get my way through. Now, when it comes to runny nose, it wasn't so much of a runny nose as it was just my neck and throat. All my glands were sore. I could feel kind of my tonsils and my sinuses, not really just jammed or anything like that, mostly just inflammation and just feeling very tight, and talking kind of hurt. Swallowing was a very hard chore. So I would say when it comes to that, I would probably give that like a 9 out of 10. I mean, that was actually pretty rough. Now, the headache, I would say the headache was probably one of the parts that actually let me down a little bit. I didn't really have too much of a headache. It only kind of came on whenever the fever would start to go up, but I kept drinking plenty of fluids and made sure to get plenty of rest. So when it comes to the headache, I would say it wasn't really that strong. And same for this sickness. When it came to coughing, I found that there really was no coughing, and I mean, that was a kind of a disappointment because usually this is sort of associated with the genre of the flu, and you know, I was a little bit disappointed. I kind of was going around, I was looking for the cough, I was trying to feel it, but it just didn't seem to be present in this version of the flu. So maybe if you get the flu, the coughing will be a little bit better for you. But in terms of my own personal experience, I didn't really have much of a cough, so that might differ from person to person. So you'll have to let me know in the comments down below if you get the flu. Let me know if you had any coughing. Once again, don't forget to hit the like button. Now, one of the most outstanding features of this flu that I got was the muscle and joint pain. I mean, this was really like probably the most shining moment out of all of it. I would kind of just sit down or lay down, and I did try to get plenty of rest, but there was times where the fever completely went away. I had taken a shower and I actually felt good, so I was kind of going around my house, cleaning up, doing a little bit of vacuuming, and it wasn't too bad. But then the next day after I would go to sleep, that's when I would really notice the muscle and the joint pain, especially parts in your shoulder and your back and your lower neck and your lower back and your calves and your quadriceps, and basically muscles you didn't even know exist were hurting. Even my feet hurt. Aside from really going out and bringing my dogs out for walks, I hadn't really been doing anything too strenuous or anything like that. So when it comes to the muscle and joint pain, I was really feeling it. So of course this differs from person to person, depending your body build and what your diet is like. That's another one of those things that's going to kind of differ from person to person. So at least for me, I would say the muscle and joint pain was pretty outstanding in this instance. So I would have to probably give that a 9 out of 10. Now, this isn't your typical review usually of something like this, so at the end, I'm kind of just going to give it an overall grade, but I'm trying to break it down a little bit for you so that you at least get kind of where I'm coming from with it. Now, when it came to diarrhea and vomiting, that was another thing that I just kind of felt was a complete letdown. Didn't have any of it. Thought it was going to happen, but that was just one of the things that didn't happen at all. Basically, in probably one of the worst things that actually happened was probably 2 or 3 nights in a row where I went to sleep. I was just profusely sweating to the point where I just woke up completely drenched. I would have to towel down or take my t-shirt off, wipe down, and then just kind of change clothes. I sweat so much one night and I was waking up like every hour on the hour. So that was probably the most brilliant and outstanding part of this whole experience, really. I mean, that was the part that just really stuck out the most. That was kind of where it all came together, was waking up just completely sweating with a high fever. At that point, I would say, yeah, my nose was probably running a little bit. But that was really when I would just wake up soaked in sweat, have to change my clothes, the t-shirt's just drenched, and I could feel all the muscle and joint pain, the headache, all my sinuses, my throat, all my glands swelled up. And even still, I'm trying to get over it, but, you know, really kind of stuck with me. And even though I'm feeling a lot better, and I think the flu has actually gone away, that was one of the parts that really, in writing this review for it, has just really stuck out. So maybe that's something that applies to you, but in my personal experience, that was kind of the grand finale of the whole thing. So if you were to get the flu, it might be different for you. I'm not really sure if that's the kind of thing you're into. Maybe that's one of your lower points for it, and your high point would maybe more so be the diarrhea. Again, different strokes for different strokes. These things vary from person to person. And in this review, I just basically wanted to go through and give my thoughts from a first-person user experience, and just give my thoughts and let you know what I thought of it as the experience as a whole. Not necessarily all the different components, but how they interact with one another and how they bounce off one another, and wrap up into a whole package that at the end of this review I could actually give you my full take on it and say whether I would recommend it or not. So basically, after going through and giving you my whole summation of everything that I dealt with over the past several days, I mean, I would say that this flu was probably a 8.4 out of 10. So yeah, like a 84 or like an 85. Now, some people would say that maybe it deserved a little bit more than that, and I'm being a little bit generous when I say maybe like a 83, 84, 85. I'm kind of retracting it a little bit. I mean, it was pretty harsh at times, and you know, the display of it was brilliant. Just the way that my body interacted with it. I mean, that in itself was kind of just a miracle and a thing of a higher art form, almost, so to speak. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that, yeah, I'm gonna give this an 84 out of a 100. Really, that's just a general score for you or anybody, any of your friends really, to just kind of go off of. And again, this is just my take on it, just my opinion on it. There is no official list for flu or influenza or, you know, which one's going to be the best, which one's going to be the worst, how it's going to be different from me, and how it's going to be different from you. But those are just my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? Just let me know down below. Leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to DDub, as I might actually have more reviews like this going on in the future. I don't usually end up with these types of things, and I know this is a little bit outside of my regular wheelhouse, but I kind of was inspired to just do a different type of video. I kind of just went ahead and did this kind of just on a whim, but let me know down below what you honestly thought of my review. Could I have done this better? Should I try the flu again? Maybe I can make a different video on it. I'm not exactly sure. As I said, this was a kind of new thing and a new take, and this is something that I haven't really dealt with in a while, and especially I haven't done a video on. So let me know your thoughts down below. Leave a response video, maybe even do your own review if that's something that truly inspires you to do it. So once again, this is DDub. I'm gonna give the flu an 84 out of 100. Let me know if you plan on getting it in the future. Let me know where you got it or who you got it from. Maybe if you get it from a kid or something, maybe the experience will be a little bit different, as it might be if you get it from an older person or even just one of your peers that you see on a day-to-day basis, or maybe even a family member, a child, your own kid perhaps, or just your significant other. So this is DDub signing out saying, have a great day, and I will catch you guys on the next video.